Welcome to my new project. This is the Kaleidoscope Blanket by Catherine Bly. It's a free pattern, it's available on Ravelry. There is a video tutorial already, but it's done in US terms, so I thought I'd do one with UK terms. May have bitten off a bit more than I can chew, but we'll see how we go. My downfall will be the sewing up because it's the bit I really don't like. The yarn can be bought as a pack, so from anywhere you usually buy your yarn. If you search the Kaleidoscope Blanket, if they have it, you can buy it as a pack. Then it comes in 3 colourways, though obviously you can choose your own, and each of the pattern comes in sections for each of the elements, and it tells you which colours you need, or you can obviously write your own colours in. Now if it's the first time you're doing colour work, it is fiddly, and you'll feel that you need another pair of hands, but it does get easier, I promise you. Now because of the nature of crochet, and the top of the stitch is always to the right of the body, it tends to lean to the right, so you have to be quite careful missing the right stitches to keep it the right shape. So stitch markers are really quite useful, certainly when you're first doing the element, just to keep you right. So today I'm going to show you the first part, which is the square. The pattern says to use a 4.5mm hook to get a 4.5 inch square, 11.5 centimetre square. I tried this and my square was much smaller, so I've moved up to a 5mm hook, which has given me the size I need. So let's crack on. So start off in the green, aspen, turquoise, whatever you want to call it. Make a magic loop. Now, magic loop, there are lots of videos out there. This is how I do mine. So lay it across my fingers, make a cross, use my hook, pull it up, and then pull through. Then if you tug, that tightens the stitch. And then when you pull the short end, it makes the circle smaller. So to start off with, it's 1 chain and then 8 double crochet into the magic ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then when you pull the end, you've got your little circle, and then you're going to slip stitch into the first double crochet you made. So if you count back, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, it's that, because that's the chain that you made at the beginning. So just slip stitch into there to close the circle. And pull it tight, because you don't want to get confused and think that that's the stitch, because it isn't, it's the sort of the first and last. Okay, so the pattern for this round is 3 trebles, 3 chains into every other stitch. So to get up to height, it's 3 chain and then a treble into the same stitch. So it's the one that you've slipped into. So 3 treble, 3 chain, then you're going to skip the next stitch and do 3 trebles into the following one. Three chain, and then skip the next stitch, 3 trebles into the following stitch, skip that stitch, 3 trebles into that one, 3 chain, and then you're going to join, and I'll join you back here. Okay, we've got to the end of round 2, and we're going to slip stitch to the 3rd chain of the 3 chain we did at the very beginning. So 1, 2, 3, and you can tell because you've got your trebles here, and this treble, the stitch at the top, slightly to the right, that's the top of the 3rd treble, that's the top of the 2nd treble, so you're wanting to go into the top of this 3 chain pretendy treble. So there we go. And just slip that along, and then you need to slip into the middle treble. Now, depending on how you do your slip stitch, it can distort the top of the stitch, so you can see that the top of this treble is that, so that's where you're going to have to slip into there to get into the middle of this group. This round we're going to be, and again, sorry, snug up that so you don't get it confused as a stitch. This is the round that we're going to be introducing the white into, but you don't need to worry about it quite yet. So the middle treble of each of these little bits is the corner. So to make the corner, it's 1 chain and 3 double crochet into the same stitch. 3. Then double crochet into the last treble of that set, and now you're going to do double crochet into this chain space. We're going to start it with the green and finish it with the white, so have the white to hand. So start the stitch in green, nip the green out of the way and bring the white into play. And finish the stitch. Okay. So now you're going to do a popcorn into the skipped stitch from the previous round, but you need it to be in front of the chain. So yarn over into the stitch and then push the chains out of the way so they're flat out of the way, and you can make your stitch. So the popcorn stitch is 5 trebles into the missed stitch from the previous round. 1, 2, 3, 4. On the 5th one you finish it in green because we need to be back in the green, so you do until you've got 2 loops on the hook, then bring the green back into play. This is where it starts getting a bit fiddly. Move the white out, finish it in the green. Okay. And pull the stitch up a bit, because to complete the popcorn you're going to go back to the first treble you made and go in front to back through the green loop and pull it through. And there you've completed the popcorn stitch. So now you need to travel the white around with you as you go. That's my short end, so this is the long end. So then into the same chain space that you did the double crochet here, you're going to do one on the other side of the popcorn stitch, carrying the white behind. Okay, so now we're doing 1 double crochet into the first treble, 3 into the corner treble, and 1 into the third treble. Three, 1 into the third treble, and then double crochet into the chain space, chaining to white at the end. Okay, so then it's another popcorn stitch into the skipped stitch, so yarn over into the stitch, fold the chains back, 5 treble, changing to blue, green, aspen on the 5th stitch. That's 4. Change to green, and then carrying the white behind, another double crochet into this chain space to lock it down. So then 1 into the first treble, 3 into the middle treble, 1 into the third treble, double crochet into the chain space, changing to white, popcorn stitch, double crochet to lock it, so all the way around until you get to here, and I'll meet you back here to show you what to do next. Right, when you get round to the end of this row, you've done your popcorn stitch, you've done a double crochet into the chain space, and the last row of this stitch is into the slipped stitch that you did at the beginning. So it's this one where you slip stitch to the 3 chain. It can be a bit tricky to get into because quite often the slip stitch is tight. Carry the white behind, a double crochet there, and then you need to slip stitch to the first double crochet of that set. You'll know which one it is because you should have, put a little bit in each corner, you'll have the end of the popcorn stitch, and then you have 7 turquoise stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, then the top of your popcorn stitch. So here you've got 2 stitches there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so this is the stitch that you're slipping into. And then slip stitch into the next stitch, because that is the centre, and it's where you'll be doing your next corner. So there we go. Okay, so the pattern should be as 7 green stitches, a popcorn stitch, 7 green stitches, and the 4th of the green stitches is your corner. So the next round you don't need the white, so you can just let that go. If, like me, you end up twisting everything, you have to do a lot of untwisting. I'll just make sure that we're right. Okay. Right. So to make the corner, this round is all half trebles, so 2 stitches to get up to height, and then into the chain, same space, 2 more half trebles. Now if you worry about knowing where you are, stitch markers are really useful. So you might find that you want to mark the middle stitch, just so you know where it is. So you can pop a stitch marker into there, and then in each of the corners as you go around. Just helps keep you on track. So now you're going to do half trebles into the green stitches. You're going to miss the popcorn stitch in this round. So half treble into these 3 green stitches, miss that white top of the popcorn stitch, 3 half trebles into those 3, and when you get to the corner, 3 half trebles into the same stitch. So 1, 2, 3, skip the popcorn stitch, 4, 5, 6, and then 3 half trebles into the corner stitch. 1, 2, 3, and if you want to put a marker in, put a marker into the second of those half trebles. Okay, so along the next side, half trebles into the green stitches, skip the popcorn stitch, 3 into the corner, and I shall meet you back here. Now if you're marking the corners and you forget to mark one on the way round, if you identify the corner you can see it because it's the one where you've got 3 stitches into it. Then the last half treble is here, and there's the top, so the middle half treble must be that one, so you can just pop your marker in here. You'll probably find that once you've done half a dozen of these you don't need to mark anything, but it just helps to keep you on track to start with. So, lost my end, there we go. So now you need to slip stitch to the second chain of the 2 chains that you made for the first corner. So that's the centre stitch. You've got 1, 2, so you're going to slip into there. It's always quite tricky. And then bring the white up and you're going to slip into the centre stitch. So take your marker out, poof, and slip into the centre stitch and bring the white up. Okay, pull that tight. So this row is all double crochet and bringing the white in and out of play. So, using the green, make 1 chain and 3 double crochet into the same stitch, but on the 3rd double crochet you're going to change to white. So 1, 2, 3, starting green, finishing white. So now you're going to do your first front post double treble, and to identify the stitch you're looking at, it's from round 2 and it's the sets of 3 trebles. So here you've got, that's the original chain, 1 treble, 1 treble, next corner 3 trebles, and so on. So for this, the stitch we need to identify is the 3rd treble of that set of 3. So it's here. So a front post double treble, yarn over twice, under the post. Now I find it easiest to squish it back so I can work the stitch. So pull your yarn through. Now you don't want to make these too tight, otherwise it'll pull in. If you make them tight, they'll be too short and they'll curl the square up. So make sure you're quite gentle with it. So yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2, and finish the stitch in green. Pull the white out of the way, find the green, find the green. Right. Now you're going to skip a stitch from underneath. You can see this by tipping the stitch forward. That's the stitch you've been into, so you're skipping this stitch here and going into the next one. And an easier way to identify it, I find, is you're going to be doing 5 double crochet along here, and there's your popcorn stitch, which is the middle. So the stitch above the popcorn stitch is your middle stitch, so that will be 3 of 5. So 3, 2, 1 into there, and carry the white along with you. 5 double crochet, and on the 5th double crochet you change to white. 2, 3, 4, 5th one, start in green and finish in white. Now your next front post double crochet into this corner is round the 1st treble of the set. So yarn over twice, under the post, yarn through, so nice and loose, 1, 2, and finish in green. Right, if you've marked your corners, it helps in this row because your next stitch is into the corner. So straight into there, mark her out, carrying the white up behind you. It's 3 double crochet into the corner, finishing the 3rd one in white. So 1, 2, 3, starting in green and finishing in white. Tangle. And then you're going to do a front post double crochet around the 3rd treble of this set. So yarn over, and finish in green. Then skip a stitch and 5 double crochet using the popcorn as a centre, and that is the pattern for this row. So 5 double crochet, change to white, front post treble, change to green, 3 double crochet into the corner, change to white on the 3rd one, front post treble around the 3rd treble, and I'll meet you back at the beginning. Okay, when you get to the last front post double treble, there isn't a treble to work round, it's the 3 chains that you made at the beginning of the row. So under the chains, through to finishing green, and then slip stitch to the first double crochet of the corner, and then into there, and slip stitch into the middle stitch. Ready for the next round. Now again, you've done with the white, so you can just leave that to the side for the row. Now this row of green, you don't need to mark the corners because they are very obvious, and I shall show you why. So this row, you're going to be making room for the next set of popcorn stitches along here, and the corner is half treble, 2 chain, half treble, so you can see it's a corner. Now to start, it's 2 chain for the half treble, 2 chain for the 2 chain, so 4 chain and a half treble back into the same place. So that's your corner. So then you're going to do 3 half trebles into the next 3 stitches. One, 2, 3, chain 1, skip the next stitch, half treble into the centre of the 5, chain 1, skip a stitch, and then 3 half trebles, so green, white, green. Some of the stitches you might find after colour changes are a bit small, but you learn to live with it. Then into the corner, half treble, 2 chain, half treble, so then it's half trebles into green, white, green, 1 chain, skip a stitch, half treble into the centre, 1 chain, skip a stitch, half trebles, green, white, green, and into the corner, half treble, 2 chain, half treble, and I shall join you back at the start. Okay, now you've got to the end of the row and you need to slip stitch into these chains. So you've got 4 chains, you want to slip stitch into the second chain, which is the top of what would have been a half treble, and bring the white up with you. So 1, 2, into there, catch the white and slip stitch there, and then slip into the chain space. It's worth getting into the habit of slipping to where you need to be at the end of the previous row. So this, you should now have 2 chain corner space, 4 half trebles, a space, a half treble, a space, 4 half trebles, 2 chain space all the way around. So 4, 1, 4, 4, 1, 4, 4, 1, 4. Okay, so now we're carrying the white, and there's a lot of white to do in this round. And you have to also be able to identify your stitches. I'll do my best to point them out to you. So into the 2 chain space, so 1 chain to get up to height, carrying the white behind you, it's very fiddly, 5 double crochet, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, now technically there is a stitch here, but it's hidden underneath your double crochets, and you're going to skip it anyway. So the next stitch you're going into is the second one along, but it's the next stitch you can see at the top. So double crochet starting in green and finishing in white. There we go. So now you're going to do a front post double treble round the previous one, so it's easy to find. Yarn over twice, under the stitch, and again not too tight, and finish in green. Now you're going to skip the next stitch that's behind this front post treble. Now if you look, there's your last stitch. Skip this one into this one, and it is the last half treble before the space. So there are two ways of identifying it. One is to tip your work forward, see where you last were in, skip the next one to the next one, or the other way is just to look at it and go, I'm going into this half treble. So you're going to go in green and finish it in white, carrying the white behind. So double crochet, starting in green, finishing in white. And then you're going to do a popcorn stitch into this space, the same as you did in round 3. So yarn over, into the stitch, tip the chain behind, 5 trebles, and on the 5th one finish in green, pull the yarn up, find the first stitch in front to back, back through the green, pull it tight and pull it through. Okay. Right, you're going to skip the half treble in the middle and you're going to go straight into the next chain space, double crochet starting in green and finishing in white, into the chain space. Okay, and then it's another popcorn stitch into the skip stitch from the previous row. The yarn over into the stitch, push the chain back, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, finish in green, pull it up, find the first stitch, back through the green, pull it through. Right, so we're heading towards the corner now. So the next stitch would be this one here. You're going to skip that one and go into this one here. So if you look at the corner, it's the 3rd from the corner. Carry the white behind, double crochet starting in green, finishing in white. I'm just going to untangle a bit. So here we are with the white, and now it's a front post double treble round the front post double treble from the previous row. So where's my green? There we go. Yarn over twice, under the stitch, pull through, give yourself a bit of room, 1, 2, change back to green. You're going to skip the next stitch and go into the last half treble before the corner. Carry the white behind you. And 5 double crochet into the corner space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then you can't see the top of this stitch, so you're going into the next stitch you can see, which is here, going in green, finishing in white. Front post double treble round the front post double treble from the previous round, finishing in green. And then into the last treble before the space. In green, changing white. So basically changing pretty well every other stitch at this point. So then it's a popcorn stitch into there, skip this half treble, double crochet into the chain space, starting in green, finishing in white, popcorn stitch into there, finishing in green, skip the next stitch, double crochet into the third from the corner, starting in green, finishing in white, front post double treble around here, skip the second from the end, and then double crochet into the stitch before the corner, 5 into the corner, 1 into the stitch after the corner, changing to white, and round until you get back to the end. Okay, and I shall meet you back here. Okay, here we are at the end of the round, and we need to slip stitch to close up. So if you look in any of your other corners, you'll see you've got 7, 3, 4, 5 green stitches. So you've got 1 here, so you need to slip to the 6th from the end. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So into there. So slip to join the row, and then you want to slip into the middle of these 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I'm going to pull this up. So what you shouldn't have now is you'll have your corner 7 green, front post treble green, popcorn stitch green, popcorn stitch green, front post treble, 7 green in the corner, and so on round the square. Now this is the row that it is most worth marking, certainly whilst you're new to this. It's all half trebles, so it's a very easy round to do, but then it will really help you in the next round. So into the corner, 2 chain, half treble, half treble, and mark the first half treble that you did, which is the second of the corner. Now you're going to work across the top, putting a half treble into every stitch, including the popcorn stitches. So this is 13 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and then 3 half trebles into the corner. You do this all the way around, mark your corners. I promise you it's worth it to start with. Once you've got the pattern in your head, you'll be fine, but it really helps. And then I'll show you some more places that it's worth marking once we've done the row. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, white, green. See, these can be quite tricky just because of the colour changes. 2. Now this is the popcorn stitch. It doesn't look like a lot until you get your hook through it. It looks like it might just be one stitch, one thickness of yarn, but it isn't. So white into the green, into the popcorn stitch, into the green. One, 2, 3, and then 3 into the middle chain of this corner, the middle stitch of this corner. So 3 half trebles into there, and then all the way around, and I shall meet you back here. Don't forget to mark your corners. So when you get to the middle stitch for your half treble, so 1, 2, 3, I'll pop a marker in. That's the one you've just done, that's the middle one. Okay, and I shall meet you back there. Okay, this is the end of round 8, and we're going to slip to the second chain, carry the white up with you at this point, and then slip into the centre stitch that you've got marked. You can take your marker out because then you'll be in the right place. So slip into that stitch there, with the white behind. And I shall show you where to put your markers. So this is your centre stitch. So trust me on this one, and I'll explain as I go around. So your first marker, you're going to be doing 3 double crochet into the corner, working the next stitch, skipping 2. So working in this stitch, skipping those 2, mark this stitch. So if you go around and mark each one, and if this is the only marking you do, that's fine. The others are very much optional. So that's your corner, work that stitch, skip 2 stitches, mark the 3rd along. So skip 3, sorry, 4th along, corner stitch, 1, 2, 3, skip 3, mark, corner stitch, skip 3, mark there. Beg pardon. Right, there are various other places you can mark if you want to. So I shall just mark this first row. So here we are. So you've skipped 3, marked 1, then skip 1, mark 1, so then count, including that one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You're going to work into those 7 stitches, you're going to skip this one, and you're going to work into the last 2. So you can mark the last 2, because you'll be skipping that stitch there, working into that one, and normally you would expect to skip a stitch after this one, but to get the pattern to stay straight, you don't. So there you go. So corner stitch, skip 3, mark, definitely mark that one, the others are optional. So carrying the white behind, three double crochet into the corner stitch, oh sorry, 1 chain, 3 double crochet into the corner stitch, 1, 2, 3. It's very rattly with all the markers. So work into the next stitch, double crochet, start it in green, finish it in white. You're then going to do a front post double treble round this round here. I have no idea what number that round is, but it's the one where you made the big corner space. So you're working around the second half treble of the corner. So first half treble, corner, second half treble. So double treble round the second half treble. Again, not too tight. And finish it in green. And now this is where your markers come into play, because you're skipping 2 stitches, you can't see the one behind there, you're skipping that one and working into the stitch where the marker is. If you tip the work forward, you can see you've worked into that stitch there and you're missing those 2. So double crochet into the marked stitch with the white behind, starting in green and finishing in white. Okay. Now you're going to do a front post treble round this front post double treble. It is just a front post treble, so yarn over once through the stitch, over, through, and change back to green. Skip the stitch into the marked stitch. And you're going to work 7 double crochet along here, carrying the white behind. The other way to identify where to go in here, if you don't like using the markers, is to look at the 2 popcorn stitches, and there'll be a stitch in between. That's your centre stitch, so that is 4 of 7, so 4, 3, 2, 1. So saves having to mark. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and on the 7th stitch you change to white. So here's 7. Okay. So now it's a front post treble round the front post double treble. So just yarn over once, pick the stitch up, finish it in green. you're going to skip a stitch there and go into the marked stitch. If you haven't marked, but you have got the corner marked, it's 2 before the corner. So you've got corner, the stitch and the stitch you're going into. So double crochet with the white behind, starting it in green, finishing it in white. And then you're going to do a front post double treble around the first half treble of that corner. Starting it in white and, as usual, finishing it in green. Now you're not going to skip any stitches here because you'd marked the 2, so you're going straight into the very next stitch, and this is just to keep it symmetrical. So carrying the white behind, double crochet into that stitch, and then you're at the corner, so 3 double crochet into the corner, double crochet into the next stitch and change to white, front post double treble on the second leg of the corner, change back to green, skip 2 into the marked stitch, carrying the white, starting in green, change to white, okay, there was a slight technical hitch in that my battery died, so the camera is now charged and we're picking up where we left off. So we have made a double crochet in green, change to white, and we're going to do a front post treble round this front post double treble from the previous round. Change to green, and carry on as this side here. So it's 7 double crochets across here using this centre stitch as your marker, or pulling the work out, slipping a stitch, start and going into this one here, carrying the white behind. So 7 double crochet across here, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. At this point change to white, front post treble around this stitch, skip a stitch, change into so double crochet into there, change to white, and a front post double treble round this stitch, and then the corner as normal, double crochet into there, 3 into there, 1 into there, change to white, and I shall meet you back here. Okay, this is the end. That's the end of round 9. If this is your first square, don't cut the white yarn yet. Finish the square and check to make sure it's the right size, because if it's a bit small or a bit large, you're going to end up pulling it out and changing your hook size. If, however, you're happy with the size of your square, you can cut the white at this point. So you should have 5 green stitches in the corner, white, green, white, 7 green stitches along the side, white, green, white, and then 5 in the corner around each side. And then you'll know that you've got the right number of stitches. And this is the last row. It is double crochet all the way round, So you need to slip into the first of the double crochet from the previous round. Right. Now normally you would slip into the middle, but because this is the last round we don't need to. We don't need to be in the right place when we come round. So one chain, double crochet into the same stitch, and then in the corner, which will be the third of the 5 chains, 3 double crochet. 1, 2, 3, and then double crochet across the 17 stitches. I think there are, so the 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, yes, so 17 double crochets across the side and then 3 in the corner. And then I shall meet you back here and we will have finished our first square. Okay, here we are at the end of the last row. You'll have a white stitch and then you'll have 2 green stitches to complete the square. 1, 2, 3, and then you're going to make an invisible join over that stitch there because you've got your little chain up there and that was your first double crochet. So, yarn slipped, so the invisible join, you go around the next stitch after the one you're wanting to make the join over, front to back, and back through the back of the last stitch you made, and then it sits neatly on the top. And you should have 80 double crochet all the way around if you care to check, and then that is the end of the first square and only another 35 to make. Thank you.